Hi everyone. This is a brief tutorial on crow pose or kakasana, which is an arm balance that comes up in classes quite regularly, and it also builds the foundation for a lot of other different arm balances in terms of the actions that we need in the body. So first of all, here are a few preparations that you can do for bakasana. The first is to warm up the wrists. So you could give your wrists a little bit of a circling action in both directions. And then place your fingertips on the floor in front of you with the palms facing out, and see if you can bring the fingers and then the palms a little further to the floor. And if this is all going really well, you could even walk your hands a little bit further away from you. And then lifting the arms back up. And to move into the hip opening shape that we need, place your feet flat on the floor, press your fingers down behind you and come into a little squat position, malasana. You could keep this higher if that's more comfortable for the hips. You can certainly let the heels lift. The feet are almost parallel with each other, whether the heels are on the floor or not. And then you can press your palms together and broaden the chest, roll the shoulders back. And then from here, if it's comfortable, you can sit straight onto your sitting bones and then roll onto your back and take the knees towards the armpits and get your hands together in between your legs and then curl the knees towards the armpits as you lift the head. And you can even squeeze your legs into the upper arms. And essentially, this is a crow pose, supine. Same actions already working. And then rock up, coming to sit, and then make your way to an all-fours position, placing the knees underneath the hips, the hands underneath the wrists. Point your toes, round the spine, gather the belly in, press into the tops of the feet, and then lift the knees just barely off the ground. And rounding the spine, get the abdominals to shake, or at least to really activate, pushing the floor away. And then release back down. And you can rest for a moment. And similar, straighten the legs, come into a plank position. And then from here, come into a high plank. Tuck the chin in, lift the space between the shoulder blades up so that this space is the highest part of your body. Lengthen the tailbone back towards the heels, breathing. And then come out. And then, very much like the shape of the actual pose, come onto the feet and stand with your knees bent. Maybe the feet are about shoulder distance apart. Take the elbows to the inner knees. Press the elbows out into the legs. Press the knees in to the elbows. And then round the spine, contracting your abdominals. And you can't really see anything much here, but this is pretty hard work. And then release. So these postures activate the key actions that you'll need for the crow pose. And then you can start to put it all together. So placing the hands on the floor, spreading the fingers, rooting down through the four corners of the palms, and then the knees come onto the outer upper arms. You're on your tiptoes. I like to start with my feet together. Have the hands about maybe a foot in front of your feet. Then round the spine, lifting the hips. Look forward, shift forward, claw your fingertips into the floor, and then maybe lift one foot off the ground. And then maybe swap around, lift the other foot off the ground. And maybe both feet come up, and the lift comes through a rounding of the spine and a contracting of the abdominal muscles. And then come down. Now, there are a few things that can help you because often there is a lot of fear to sort of lean forward into the unknown. And often we feel like the feet are absolutely glued to the floor. So one thing you could try is take a brick and use this to elevate your feet And then to work with the fear and to make sure that you're not landing on your nose, have something soft like a bolster or rolled up blanket in front of you. So feet come onto the brick, so you're already a little bit elevated, and the hands are still a little distance behind the blanket because you need to lean forward and then lifting the hips, rounding the spine, looking forward, clawing the fingertips, lifting the heels, and if you do need to come down, then you'll land softly, at least. And also for many people, this can put a lot of pressure on the wrists. So what you can try is roll up the front edge of the mat and bring the heels of the hands onto that little roll. So it doesn't need to be it doesn't need to be very high, but this just reduces the angle between the hand on the forearm as you come into the balance. And then try from here. Of course, you could still use your support of brick underneath feet and blanket in front of you and leaning forward, rounding the spine, lifting off. So these are modifications that may help you to get into the pose. And if you're getting more comfortable with it, there's also some ways to advance the posture, have a little play with it. You could do the same posture on your forearms. So it's quite a different dynamic. The knees come a little bit more into the armpits, the forearms come down, you're looking forward, rounding the spine, pushing the forearms into the ground, lifting the feet off the ground. This is a forearm crow pose. And you could also do kakasana, which is crane pose, which is a very similar pose, but the arms are straighter. So once you're coming into the pose with bent elbows at first, then lift the heels, sink the hips, and straighten the arms. And the spine is going to be a little bit straighter here. And another thing you could do is take this into a tripod headstand practice. It's useful to have a headstand practice for this so that you know how to keep your neck safe in headstand. Otherwise, please don't try it. And you need a good sort of balance that is reasonably controlled, and then you sink down, bending the elbows more so that you can get the crown of the head to the floor slowly, hugging the elbows in, pushing the hands down, and then lifting the knees away from the arms. And whether you're straightening the legs up into the air here or not is then entirely up to you. And then to come out, lower the shins, see if you can lift the head, and then eventually come down. Always useful to take a few wrist stretches once you've come down out of the pose. So one simple version could be to place the backs of the hands together, move the elbows down. And then release, and for a shoulder stretch, interlace your hands behind your back, keep the elbows soft, lift the arms away from the body, maybe turn the head side to side a few times. And then releasing. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have fun exploring crow pose or kakasana.